Happy Friday to you. Welcome to this week's marketing training inside of Get Booked Out. We had quite a few people interested in today's topic, which is website design. While I'm waiting for some of those people to join us and trickle in here on this Friday afternoon, let me introduce myself. If this is your first time joining me, hello, thanks for being here. My name's Anna Walker. This is a marketing training that I hold every single week where I talk about some of the biggest questions that I'm receiving from clients or seeing in conversation or encountering in my own work one-on-one with people when it comes to marketing your private practice. And the goal is that these trainings give you actionable advice that shows you what to do and why to do it in order to grow your practice. So like I said, website design, that's what we're talking about today. If you are joining me live, drop a comment and let me know where you're joining from. If you're catching the replay, maybe you're seeing a client right now, which is a wonderful excuse to not be here. Drop a hashtag replay into the comments to let me know that you're catching this a little bit later and make sure that I can answer any questions you may have had as you're catching this a little bit later. So website design is one of my very favorite topics. It's not a topic we talk about a ton in this group, though. We have talked about it before because it is important, but I want to make one big caveat that your website design is not the most important part of your marketing. It's just not. And your website is your most important part of your marketing, but your website design isn't. It's like going on a date, okay? Imagine like being on Match.com or one of those apps or something like that, going on a date with a really attractive person, like visually just, stunning, but they have zero personality. They don't ask you any questions about yourself. They're no fun to talk to. Or going on a date with maybe more of an average looking person, but they are wonderful to talk to and they're engaged and invested in you. Who are you going to go on a date again with? It's definitely going to be that second person, right? So your website design matters because your website design is what creates first impressions and it's what draws people in, but ultimately what is on your website is most important. Great conversation wins every time, just like on a date. And so if you're trying to figure out, okay, where do I invest my time and energy when it comes to my marketing and my website, invest first in your words. Invest first in your words. Make sure that those are in tip-top shape. And then using a DIY platform or working with someone, whatever you choose to do, then it's time to really take advantage of the smart practices behind website design that we're going to talk about today to make sure that you're making that awesome connection and you're having that great conversation in this first date with potential clients that land on your website. So with that very important caveat in the way, let's talk about why website design matters. So 94% of first impressions relate to your site's website design. 94%. So that means when someone lands on your website for the first time, when maybe they read about you on Psychology Today, were really interested in you and clicked over into your website, found you on Google and clicked over there for the first time, when that page loads up, 94% of the first impressions about you and about your practice is related to your design because people are making a visual connection before anything else. Another really interesting statistic is that 75% of website credibility comes from design. So your website design is what helps you legitimize yourself, right? It's what helps you appear very, very professional. And with everyone having moved online this year, I believe that standards have actually been raised when it comes to website design because if people are going to be interacting with you online, if they're going to be paying you, your full fee to do teletherapy or, using their insurance, whatever that is, but if they're going to be interacting with you online, they have a high standard for what that experience is going to look like. So they want a very professional, buttoned up, trustworthy experience from the very beginning. And so I really have seen that as everyone has had to move online, the importance of how your website appears to people and appeals to people is more important than ever. So a good website design is going to help you legitimize yourself and appear professional. It's going to visually connect to your ideal clients. You can use color, you can use, layouts and things like that to really resonate with different ideal client types. And it's going to make your content more readable. And like we talked about, if you're going to invest in anything, it's going to be your content. So we want to make that as readable, as resonant, and as easy to digest as possible. So let's get into 5 mistakes that I see time and time again, unfortunately, on therapist websites. And this is regardless of if you built your own website, if you're on Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, whatever it is, if you use Brighter Vision, whatever it is, these are still mistakes that I see happen a lot, and they're going to cost you clients. And fortunately, they're things that you can change or that your website designer, if you work with one, can change. These aren't big shifts, but they are very, very impactful shifts when it comes to your website design. So the number one mistake that I see is really poor menu design. So your menu is that top bar at the top of your website. Every single one has it. It's where our eyes go to get where we need to go, right? On any website, there's usually a logo on the left, maybe there's a button in the top right. Oftentimes I will get onto a therapist website and there are way too many items in that menu. There should be 5 to 6 max right there, and it should never wrap to 2 lines. Whatever website platform you're using, if you get to a certain screen width, should automatically condense all of them into what's called a hamburger menu or something like that, where it's collapsible. But you should never have so many pages on your website that there are multiple lines of options. The reason for that is that it creates an unclear path to the information that I need as a potential client, right? Your website at its core is about getting people to the information they need, connecting to them, and driving them to act, inviting them to take the next step with you. And if your menu is hard to understand, or if you're using like kitschy or cute language, things that don't make sense to people, all you're doing is inhibiting that journey. So your menu needs to guide people on that journey. Make use of drop downs and use simple language that you see everywhere else. This is not a place to be, innovative here or cute. Instead, use about, use services, use resources. Words like that are going to make sense to people because they're familiar with them, right? So organize your pages, organize the content on your website into a really clear journey so that if someone is on your homepage and needs to get to a certain specialty page, there's an easy way to do that. They can learn about your fees and your policies. They can reach out to you. All of these things should be accessible. The key things you want people to get to on your website should be accessible from your menu, but should be condensed into a way that's very, very intuitive. So if you load up your website right now and there are more than 5 to 6 items in the menu, and even that is quite a few, or if it's wrapping to multiple lines because you have so many pages, that's an indication you need to think more about the journey people are on through your website and improve that part of your design. All right, number 2, and this is a big one. Number 2 is 2 large blocks of text. So just paragraphs of text with little to no white space. So anything longer than 4 to 5 lines maximum is too long. So if you have written a really great paragraph describing the problems that your client is facing, the facets of their life that it's affecting, and you copy and paste it into your website platform, and it is this big block of text that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines long, you need to break that up so that it's visually easier to digest. If all of your copy and all of your content is just butted up against one another and I just make my way down the page and it feels like I'm reading an article instead of scrolling a website and getting to what I need, you're going to lose people. Because people will read long content, they won't read boring content, and they won't read poorly organized content. So think of ways that you can break up the words that you have to say into a way that's really visually easy to understand. Make use of things like headers and subheads, and make sure that you're really giving the eye some resting place around your content to make sure that someone can, especially on their phone or on their laptop or desktop, can scroll down to what they're looking for, and their eyes can visually make that journey with them and not try to be catching up with all of the words that you have there. So that second one is 2 large blocks of text with no white space. So again, if you load up maybe your about page, which is a place where often you'll have big blocks of text, or your specialty page, and it's just lines upon lines upon lines, think first about how you can break those up into shorter paragraphs, and then how you might incorporate some visual elements like a horizontal line or a subheader or something like that to break it up even further and make it more dynamic. That's automatically going to make you look more professional as opposed to just writing this big long blog post and pressing launch. You've incorporated and thought about the experience that they're having as they scroll that page. Number 3, think about the SEO elements of your website design. You may not know that there are parts of your website design that impact SEO. 2 of the huge ones are it being slow to load and poor mobile display. So if your website is not appearing correctly on mobile, Google will actually dock you for that. It will also dock you if your website is too slow to load. Google has some really wonderful free tools where you can plug in your website to see how this is going. But oftentimes, if your website is slow to load, it's because you're using massive images. So simply by decreasing the size of your image, by maybe dropping, a picture into Canva that is set to specific dimensions so that it's a little bit smaller, that's going to help you increase the decrease the load time of your website, increase your possibility of rankings because Google is going to respect your site a lot more as opposed to making someone wait for that spinning wheel for it to load. Same with poor mobile display. If your website does not look good on mobile, you will lose clients. period, because we know that up to 75% of people are looking at your website via mobile for the very first time. So load it up on your website, load it up on your own phone, scroll and see if there are any elements that need some fixing, and make sure you go in and make those changes. That is so critical, not just for Google, but also for your user. So that's number 3. Think about the SEO impacts of your website design. So if it's slow to load or you have poor mobile display, you are going to lose clients. There's just no two ways about that one, unfortunately. Next up, the other website design I often see people make is confusing visuals. Now, there are a couple things that fall under this umbrella, and quite frankly, almost every website that I look at probably struggles with this in one way or another. So confusing visuals can mean a couple different things. Sometimes it's that you're using too many colors or too many fonts, or it can be that your images are not adding anything to the conversation. If I load up your website and it's a beautiful picture of a waterfall and I have to scroll down to see your copy, and then I scroll down again, it's another beautiful picture of a waterfall or a forest with a Brene Brown quote. None of these things give context to me about what it is that you do and what it's like to work with you. The other thing I often see people do, and I understand that therapy websites, it's hard to have images that are really relevant, right? We don't have pictures of our clients inside of sessions. So it's hard to determine what images make sense, but oftentimes I'll land on websites and the images are overly negative. Everything, if I go to a depression or anxiety page, it's this horrible stock picture of someone, with their head in their hands. That's not what we want to convey on your website. What we want to convey on your website is the transformation that your client is ultimately looking for. So if you're thinking about using images and incorporating those into your website design, think on the happy side of it. Think on the result side of it. We want people to load up a specialty page about anxiety and see someone living in relief, right? Living in that transformation of not being so anxious all the time. So think really critically about that. The reason that mismatching fonts and too many colors are really an issue when it comes to website design is, quite frankly, it makes you look unprofessional. If on your homepage you have 4 different fonts, you have 5 or 6 colors, and I go to your specialty page and it's a different font, you're not creating continuity between, again, the journey that someone is having on your website. So if instead, go ahead and take a couple minutes of whatever your website platform is in and decide on 2 fonts, just 2 fonts for the entire website, and then a handful of colors, maybe 3 to 4 colors that you use consistently throughout the website. You don't have to, every single button, every single section doesn't need to look unique from the other one. We want them to be, interesting and a little bit different, but not completely separate. So settle on just 2 fonts and just a handful of colors for your website design. I was looking at a website just yesterday for a really talented clinician that is struggling a little bit in the website design area, and she had a completely so she had a sans serif font, which is a font that doesn't have little feet on it, all throughout her website. And then I got to her specialty pages and it was like Times New Roman. Everything was black and white, while her about page had it was kind of a color explosion. So you can see how this is just automatically going to kind of dock that legitimacy. And remember, website design is about increasing your legitimacy. It's about making that first impression that shows that you are ultimately going to deliver on all of the wonderful work that you can do with these clients and ultimately help them experience the change that they're looking for. So think about, am I coming across in a professional and streamlined way here? And if not, what can I do to simplify that? Chances are that you need to simplify. And then when it comes to images, make sure that you're using things that are relevant, not just throwing in pictures of skies or rainbows for the sake of it, and not using overly negative images, but instead being really thoughtful about what images you choose. Sometimes you don't need an image there. Sometimes it should just be a solid color. Sometimes it should just be white. You don't have to use images in every single page or on every single section. So be a little bit kind of picky about what it is that you use there. So that 4th one was confusing visuals, and that one is a really challenging one, but with just kind of those basic guidelines, you should be able to bring some more continuity and some more professionalism to your website design. And then last but not least, as I scroll a lot of therapist websites, I've reviewed literally hundreds of therapist websites. Oftentimes I see in their website design that there is no clear call to action button. There is not a place for me to take a next step that is reinforced throughout their website. There might be a link at the bottom, there might be something on the contact page, but there isn't a button that pops off the page and that it's used throughout the website to remind me what I'm supposed to do next. So a lot of times, like we talk about in a lot of the content videos that we've talked about, your homepage, about page, specialty page on your website, That's going to say something like schedule free consultation. That button should be so obviously different from the rest of your website. It should use, if we're using 3 to 4 colors on your website, save one color just for buttons. Just for buttons, so that is automatically distinct from everything else. And it should be reinforced as I scroll down the page. Don't be afraid to put 2 buttons on your homepage. Don't be afraid to put a button on your about page or a couple on your specialty page. People are on your website because they want help, right? It's okay to ask them to take the next step. And using your website design, you can do that in a really beautiful way, in a really cohesive way, but also in a really clear way. Don't shy away from asking them what to do. Don't make it just an underlined, clickable, piece of text. Instead, make use of buttons and of visual elements that are going to say, this is what to do next. Are you ready? Take the next step now. So that other website design is no clear call to action. And unfortunately, I see it's something that a lot of therapists do, and it's so easy to fix. So if you load up your website right now and there's actually no really clear place to schedule a free consultation with you on your homepage or your specialty pages, that's an easy change to make. Go ahead and get in there, drop in, your simple practice link or your email, whatever it is you use to schedule those free consultations, and make use of buttons that are really, really clear and visually distinct on every single one of your website pages. So let's review these 5 design mistakes again. Number 1, poor menu design. Number 2, too large blocks of text with little white space. Number 3, SEO impacts, being slow to load or having a poor mobile display. Number 4, confusing visuals. And number 5, no clear call to action. These website design mistakes seem small, especially when we address just one at a time. But if you're making 1 or 2 of them, or 3 of them, or 4 of them, they compound and they ultimately create an experience on your website that is not ideal and that will unfortunately cost you clients, because your content can be really, really, really awesome. And that is the thing that is most important. But if it can be complemented by a beautiful visual experience, you're only going to see better and better results, and ultimately more conversions from potential client that lands on your website for the first time to paying client who trusts you and ultimately works with you for months or years at a time. So friends, those are the 5 website design mistakes that can cost you clients. Again, these are applicable regardless of the website platform that you use. I know that a lot of therapists are super overwhelmed by the idea of building or designing their website, and that's something I can help you with if it's something that you're needing. I offer custom website design inside of Squarespace. I also do website refreshes if you have been through any of my courses, have used my templates, or if we've done a website audit together. I actually offer a reduced price for that. So if you're struggling, or if you haven't built your website yet and you're looking for a resource to help you get that off the ground, I would love to be able to partner with you. If you want to talk more about that, you can schedule a free strategy session with me where we can take a look at your website, talk about what you're needing, and determine if this is a good fit for you. But ultimately, if you can take these 5 design mistakes away, the ways to fix them, and start applying them to your website or holding them in your mind as you create your own, you're going to see better results on your website. You're going to get new clients. And that's exactly why we're here. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to drop them into the comments. I'll be around all weekend and would love to chat with you. And I will see you next week.